Well, after being cured by a hermit of his wounds, Lancelot again enters into a tournament here, and his wound bursts open in battle, and he's feeling poorly, but he gets fixed up again. And then we turn to the Lady of Astolat, because Lancelot has refused to have any romance with her. And she, being a young girl, this is the first time that she's been in love with a man, and it says that she falls into a pining for him. That she is as yet young and pure, and this is her first love. And for her, Lancelot is all there is for a man. This is the ideal for her. And because he won't return her love, she decides to neither eat nor drink or anything until she falls into a faint and eventually wastes away and dies. And there's a certain, I think, pity for this scene of this young girl loving him so much. But Lancelot, on the other hand, is rather cruel. He says, I'll be honest, I never loved this girl. I can't show her love. I'm already betrothed to somebody else. Remember that this character is not the same Elaine as we saw earlier. It's another Elaine. But it is as though the two Elaines are the same figure, this hypostasis between them. And so we're seeing this another aspect of that same relationship of Lancelot to Elaine in the Lady of Astolat, in the second Elaine character. And she pines away and eventually wastes away and dies, and there's great lament and dole, and her father and brother put her on a barge and send her down the river towards Camelot, towards the court of Arthur. And it's a strange way of burying somebody, but one thing to take note of immediately is that this is the same type of thing we saw when we saw the Grail appear, because the Grail appeared on a ship surrounded by white and silver and gold and samite and all. And so too does the Lady of Astolat appear on a barge, on a ship, surrounded by white and gold and samite. And so there's an immediate connection that should be made between the one and the other. What Mallory seems to be doing or showing us is again going back to that image of Elaine, that Elaine is the Grail. She's the Grail. What does that suggest? It suggests, at least I think it suggests, that what Mallory is saying to us is this life of marrying somebody that you love and living a normal, ordinary life with somebody who's pure of heart and who is willing to give their life for you, that's what it's all about. That's the paragon of human existence. Not gaining great glory at court or marrying highly beyond your station, not seeking fame or marrying some beautiful supermodel. Rather, it's just this living the ordinary life. The woman and the Grail are synonymous. And in this case, Elaine, the Lady of Astolat, is the Grail. Lancelot then says something very strange when when the barge comes down and everybody sees this, and they're all making great dole about it. And even Guinevere, who sees it, goes to him and says, you made a terrible mistake. You should have loved this girl, which seems hypocritical, of course. But Lancelot says to her, I can't love somebody that I don't love. I have to follow my heart. I have to go where my heart leads me, and my heart leads me to you, Guinevere, and not to Elaine. I think in some ways that's a canard, that's a lie, that Lancelot has denied the possibility of living this ordinary life, and so he can't get rid of the desire for greatness and the desire for something marvelous in Guinevere, and consequently he's saying, "Well, I just never loved the girl. I'll be glad to pay for her burial. I'll be glad to shell out for it as sort of penance for what has happened here, because I'm sorry she died. But I don't take responsibility. I will not take responsibility for the fact that she died for me, for love of me. I can't help it." And I think there's something kind of cruel and a bit aloof in that. Maybe this again goes back to why he messed up with the Grail quest. I mean, why did Lancelot fail at the Grail quest? It was because he was a worldly knight. He refused to see the Grail when it was right in front of him. He refused to acknowledge what the Grail represented, the real humanity that was involved. And consequently, he ends up, in some ways, being the butt of a cruel joke. It's as though he's incapable of seeing beauty in Elaine or in the Grail when it's right in front of him. And he's a bit of an ass that way, I suppose. That's why I think there's another section that ends this, which for us is completely bizarre, because Lancelot is out in the forest and he's hunting and comes across this young lady who's also hunting, and she accidentally shoots him, and shoots him in his posterior region, his nether realms, his backside. As the text says, it shoots him in his buttocks. And for us, this is really bizarre, especially when we're thinking this is supposed to be a highbrow intellectual work. One of the first things to consider is that medievals they had no problem combining high intellectual works with very crass, coarse humor. The two went hand in glove, side by side, right next to each other. You find in some of these illuminated manuscripts, even manuscripts of illumination of the Old Testament or New Testament, in the margins, pictures, little funny pictures or dirty jokes or people doing odd things like cartwheels. And it strikes us as very strange. But the medievals had no problem with these two realms of high intellectual and base and coarse. But I think also something is going on here in the symbolism. Lancelot is shot in his rear end, which in some ways is a metaphor for the whole sexual element as well. And I think that he is pierced by a character that's very much like Diana, like Artemis. The woman in the forest is like an Artemis figure. And she pierces him, she shoots him with the barbed arrow that sticks in the flesh. And this is in some ways like the pain of messing up with the Grail quest. It's like the pain of missing Elaine when she's right there in front of him. Lancelot just doesn't get it. And he becomes something of the butt end of jokes because of the fact that he isn't quite the holy man that he would hope to be. And it's very appropriate, too, that after he does this, the woman basically leaves him there to deal with it himself. He goes on from there, of course, to go back to court. But he has a hard time with the indignity that being shot in the rear end would offer him, because he is, as yet, still attached to this high, noble, unworldly desire versus the everyday, ordinary holiness that he can't seem to achieve.